Aloha and welcome to Inside Hawaii Real Estate. I'm Will Tanaka with my co-host, business partner, and wife, Leonie Lam.
Thanks, Will. Together as full-time realtors, we're bringing you the latest in Hawaii real estate. So we're heading over to Hawaii Island today, affectionately known as the Big Island. And so Big Island is known for things like gravy burger, ice shave, amongst many other things. It's much larger in size, land size, and it's actually still growing. And although it's larger in land size, it's actually smaller in population as compared to Oahu. It has about 1/5 of the population that we have here on Oahu. The two most well-known cities on the Big Island are, of course, Hilo and Kona. And we are so fortunate today to have a very special guest who is a big leader in the Hawaii real estate market. She is a founder and the principal broker of Hawaii Development Group. As a development expert, Lailan Bento was also born and raised on the Big Island, and she's a very passionate affordable housing advocate. Welcome, Lailan.
Aloha. Thank you, Will and Leonie, for having me. I'm excited to share what's going on here on the Big Island today with you both.
All right, and I have to ask, wait, so they do call it ice shave, right? Instead of shave ice.
I think it's funny. I think the Kona side will say shaved ice, and then I think it's ice shave on the Hilo side. And then snow cone outside of Hawaii, right?
All right, so we really appreciate you, a return guest. So let's start with the big picture. What's the current real estate landscape on the Big Island? What does it look like? We just finished the first quarter, heading into spring season. So give us your thoughts, Lailan.
Right now on the Big Island, we're still, moving along. And I think with the single family homes, just on the overall look at the Big Island, we are still increasing. We're still actually ahead. So we're up about almost 17% with the number of sales for single family homes for the entire island. And then we're up about, say, 8%, 7.7 to be exact, for the median home price for single family homes. And then with condos, due to across the state, right, the increase of condo insurance and then inflation with capital projects on the complexes, we're slightly down on that. It's about 10% with the sales volume for condos right now, year over year. And then it is trending about 6% with the median price for condos. So it's a little bit different between the condo market right now and then the single family homes. But I think there's still, a lot of buyers out there, and we are still having a lot of sales, as the Big Island is still the most affordable island in the state of Hawaii. Still moving along. So I would say, yeah.
In terms of the buyer profile, there's a lot of times when we talk to buyers here in our market, and a lot of times they're looking at investing on the Big Island. It's become more and more prevalent where they're looking at property here, but they're also thinking about the Big Island. And so what kind of buyers are you seeing over on the Big Island these days?
We are seeing actually buyers from the outer islands. When Lahaina happened, we were seeing an influx of Maui buyers. Families are waiting, and still are waiting for their homes to be rebuilt. So in the meantime, they had gotten, some insurance money. So they relocated to this island while they're waiting for their home to be built in Lahaina, or they just, decided to just move to this island if they're able to work remotely and look for jobs here. We are seeing, the Big Island gets a lot of the West Coast buyers, right? California, Washington, Oregon. I'm starting to see a little bit more from Florida and Texas. So that's something new since COVID has happened. So buyers, predominantly are from the West Coast, but then we're seeing other states and those buyers start to purchase here on the Big Island. And then, of course, you do have the local community. I am seeing a lot of people from Oahu, though, buy in Hawaiian Paradise Park. They're able to sell their home in Oahu that might be an older home, and then have a 1-acre custom home on the east side of the island, like Hawaiian Paradise Park, right? A brand new home under warranty on an acre that they're able to just sell in Honolulu and then pay cash, right, for a home on that side.
You talked about the single family homes being still pretty solid overall. Do you see it as a seller's market, more balanced market for single family homes on the Big Island?
I think it's still more of a seller's market where our median price is holding tight. It hasn't really, decreased overall on the island because I think the demand is still there. And the Big Island still has a lot of foreign buyers, just like Oahu does. I think that is what separates Hawaii from the rest of the country. When the US economy might be down, right, we still have foreign buyers that keep that demand high. I think for Hawaii in general, and especially on the Big Island, because it is more affordable, they do still purchase here besides, US residents or citizens.
And then what type of buyer profiles are actually looking to purchase condos? You mentioned, increase in major capital improvements. I'm sure like spalling and elevator modernization, repiping issue, probably the similar issues that we have here in Honolulu on Oahu.
Yeah.
Increase in HOAs and insurance issues. So, well, what type of buyers, and also is it a buyer's market for condos, just like here on Oahu?
I think it is a buyer's market for condos. I'm seeing sellers have to, with the increase of the HOA fees due to inflation of their capital projects and the increase of their condo insurance, which has made each complex or HOA, homeowners association fees go up. I am seeing condos that have been sitting on the market start to lower their rates to match that homeowner association increase in their dues. So I'm seeing sometimes sellers are having to take a cut on their equity, right, that they do have in that condo to just be able to sell the condo to a buyer. So I am seeing buyers actually are able to, put in offers less than the list price and have some sellers actually entertain their lower offers here on the Big Island.
I know that short-term rentals on Hawaii Island or the Big Island are pretty, common. Are there changes? Because, obviously Oahu has had its share of changes and adjustments per county. So in Hawaii County, what's the latest going on with short-term rentals?
With short-term rentals, I know our county council kind of tabled it because last year what they were looking at were on our island, it's supposed to be, short-term vacation rentals only in the resort areas. But when they did pass our bill or our law back in 2019, they did allow and grandfather in, residential homes, farms that were vacation renting. So now our county council has just now looking at, residential and farms that are vacation renting and trying to see if they now need to apply for a permit, where all of this time only the vacation rentals that were in, the resort and proper zoning had to apply for a permit. So now our county council is trying to look at, the homes that they grandfathered in or that are actually outside of that short-term zoning, that they also apply for a permit. But they've kind of tabled that idea right now. They're looking into doing a study upon the residential and agricultural zoned areas that are vacation renting. So I'm waiting to hear how that's going to pan out, if those people are going to have to apply for a permit now or not, just like the resort vacation rentals have to.
Oh, so you're saying on the Big Island, of course, depending on the area and the zoning, even if they're outside of the resort zoning, if they were previously doing Airbnbs, VRBOs, short-term vacation rentals, then they were just grandfathered in if they were doing before certain legislations and certain bills.
Yes, exactly. And with the Big Island, I think we were the most lenient. And when they did pass that bill in 2019, so just to explain to everyone, every island is a different county. And every county or island, I would say, passed different laws regarding short-term vacation rentals. The Big Island was the most lenient. They grandfathered in, farmland, agricultural land that was already doing short-term vacation renting. They also allowed, and they still allow, if the owner or a caretaker is living on the property, they are able to, unless, the subdivision rules state that a homeowner is not allowed to vacation rent. If the owner or a caretaker lives on the property, they're able to short-term vacation rent, they're downstairs or they're separate, maybe Ohana unit, that's still allowed. So that's where our county is looking at, the hosted vacation rentals and then the grandfathered vacation rentals to now maybe they're going to now have them apply for a permit. So that was kind of tabled, and they're working on doing a study right now to see if that's where the county should also include for our island.
And I'm glad you mentioned the differences between each island,
Yeah.
each county, because on here on Oahu, they're still trying to push for the 90-day minimum. Right now, it's currently 30 days. A couple of years ago, the mayor had tried to push it to 90 days. There was a lawsuit, and there's a decision made for the existing short-term vacation rentals. But for anyone going forward, I think they're still trying to push the 90-day. On the Big Island, is it still 30-day across the board? They're not trying to extend it beyond 30 days?
I think they were looking at doing the same thing with the 90 days, and then they kind of took that off the table. But, I feel like every year they're coming up with, probably like Oahu is, they're trying to look at not the, the existing, well, it's the existing short-term rentals, but the ones that are outside of the correct zoning where you're supposed to be vacation renting. They're starting to look at that. So what I'm doing is, it depends on what use a buyer is looking at. If they are just strictly an investor and they are trying to just, buy a vacation rental, I really try to just have them go to the resort areas or the proper zoning, because I'm not sure where the county council, if they're going to change that eventually and, change the use back to residential, right? Or change it back to like an agricultural farm instead of you having a vacation rental component on that property. I would say I do that just to safeguard a buyer, just stay in this area. This is the proper zoning, purchase right here. You're safe.
Yeah, the education component for a buyer or for an investor is so important. I mean, because and you have the insight on in Hawaii Island. So I mean, that would be super helpful for them so that they don't get stuck later, or get into any kind of situation where they're stuck in a situation they don't want to be in.
And then so on one spectrum you have the short-term vacation rental issues, and sometimes it is for investors, sometimes it is for owners, local owners who needs, extra income, right, to make a living.
Yes. Yeah.
So I could understand why there's that balance in the dynamics. And of course, affordable housing. I mean, that's always going to be a hot topic. You are so passionate about affordable housing.
Yes.
And Hawaii Development Group.
Yeah.
And let's talk about that. Are there affordable housing developments coming up? Are there legislations? Are there, what's going on in the Big Island?
The Big Island right now, it's short about 13,000 homes. We have a population of about 200,000 people on the island. And those 13,000 homes that we are short, this is before COVID even happened. We were already in a housing crisis on the Big Island. The Big Island has the strictest building regulations in the country and in the state of Hawaii. So our county in particular, it's very, very hard with all the building regulations to be able to build new homes, just any type of homes or any type of housing on the Big Island. So you have that, a lot of red tape. And then there are affordable housing developments coming online, but there is still such a big need. On the west side of the island is mostly where you have, the hotels, hospitals, stores. So the west side of the island, you have most of the jobs, but on the east side of the island is more affordable. So you do have quite a bit of people that are still buying on the east side of the island or live there, and then they're traveling all the way to the other side of the island daily to work. So there are a couple of affordable housing projects in the area where we're trying to, have people live and work right in the same area instead of, leaving at 3:00 in the morning and coming back at 8:00 at night. I mean, the quality of life for a family, when you're on the other side of the island working, trying to find that balance. This new administration for the mayor's office, they are really trying to push ahead with the affordable housing projects that we do that have been sitting idle on the island. So hopefully we start to see a lot more. I know there's a couple of affordable housing projects in Kona, right, which is another main area of the island, a lot of jobs in that area. And they have rentals coming up online. So there's a lot of developments through the pipeline that are going to be for sale, and then also rentals that the county is assisting with. So that's good to see that we have more developments coming online where people can live and where they work, right? That's a big thing for families and just the quality of anyone's life to be right around, see their kids play soccer or practice or even be able to coach, right? Instead of traveling across the entire island, which all the islands in the state can fit in our one island. So that's how big our island is.
Just kind of thinking about it, like we have there's a huge demand for multi-generational living or multi-generational situation here on Oahu. And a lot of that is attributed to the extremely high cost of, care. And so a lot of families or, they'll opt to have their loved one or family member live together with them. Is that something you're seeing also on the Big Island? Is the cost of that sort of like long-term care or caregivers, is that very expensive also on the Big Island, like how it is here?
Yes, absolutely. And so you have, you're going to see multi-generational, families living together, right? Grandma lives with the grandchildren and their kids all together, and then they all take care of the grandparent. There's not too many senior housing facilities on the Big Island, so that's why a lot of these families just have in-home care and take care of their aging grandparents or aging parents on the Big Island. But there's definitely a need besides affordable housing for senior housing as well in retirement communities. I'm seeing, as the population ages, right, just like in Honolulu, that there is some place for these families to help with their aging, parents and aging grandparents and the healthcare as well, that they're able to get that as well. Yeah.
Are there certain neighborhoods there that have like those kind of facilities where it's like a residential home and then there's like a CNA or like a caregiver that, takes care of people that way, or not so much?
Just a couple of them on the island. I know North Kohala has one, Kona has two, and then Hilo has a couple of them on the island that people, and then there's one for, even for VA, for veterans on the Hilo side as well. So there's a couple of them on the island, but we definitely need a lot more. I think people just have in-home care, probably like what Oahu is doing, where they have to hire in-home
Yeah.
care for their parents and grandparents care. Yeah.
Yeah, the nursing care is so expensive for our seniors, and that's why the multi-generational living has become there's been an increase.
Yeah.
And it's always kind of interesting because, earlier you talked about short-term vacation rentals, and they've been liberal, a little bit more loose. At the
Right.
same time, for affordable
Right.
housing or new developments, to try to build housing for people who work on the west side in Kona,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, and at the same time, now there's this new dynamic about construction costs.
Yes.
So there's been a lot of discussions about tariffs. Of course, that's
Yes.
one of the hot topics globally, like just, internationally. And even our contractors here, they're saying, hey, it's going to increase in a couple of weeks. Then you hear, well, tariffs have been delayed. And I mean, there's a lot of information out there. So on the Big Island, I'm thinking it's, similar to Oahu, but how is it affecting just the labor, the materials in
Yeah.
general, the laborers and the construction costs in general, people who are not just building new homes, but people who want to renovate, people who want to just repair, you know,
Yeah.
who are well behind
Are
in the maintenance of the homes.
exactly. And so when we have buyers that want to renovate, I'm seeing contractors, right, give an estimated cost, but they really, explain to the client that this is the cost today, might go up, right? It's kind of like a moving, it's fluid, right? What
Yeah.
estimate they're giving, it's the estimated cost today might be, I'm starting to see contractors come in and say, hey, it's going to go up, but we don't know how much of a percentage. So I'm seeing that. And then on developments, the labor force here. So I know they're moving, the unions, the labor unions are bringing people in from the other islands, carpenters, plumbers, electricians. So we're also having a labor shortage, and then material costs have gone up. So it's kind of like all of these other factors here in Hawaii. I think most people don't realize, right? We're islands in the middle of the Pacific. Nobody's driving in, and you have all these factors, right? Of the high cost of materials. Then you got to factor in the labor, trying to find the proper labor, and is there a labor force with the labor unions on the island currently with whatever you're trying to build as well.
Are you still seeing a lot of local people like leaving the Big Island because of affordability issues, whether it's housing or just cost of living? I mean, is that something that you're noticing is still happening a lot, or do you feel like people are finding creative solutions to stay on island?
I think both. I see families moving, and then I also see people trying to, stay on the island and be creative and maybe get another job or open another side business. You have, especially on the outer islands, I see people have a full-time job and then they have like a side hustle, right?
Mm.
Whether it's making lays or, just different side businesses just to make a living, right? To sign their kids up for sports, school, all of those extra added cost. A lot of people I speak to, they have their full-time job and then they have a job that they're either doing as a business, whether it's baked goods or, like I said, lei making, or all types of side businesses, printing t-shirts. It's definitely a hustle to live here in Hawaii and try to stay here in Hawaii, just to live, daily and just try and stay here. But I do have some families, especially if they have a lot of kids that are moving away, right? And then I see them move away and then move back. So definitely like to see them move back. And I did see that Housing Hawaii's Future, University of Hawaii, right? UHERO, they came out with a report that more people, Hawaii's population is slightly rebounding, or more people actually our age are moving back to the islands, which I love to see. And I think that'd be a great balance of, for the community to have everyone, right, move back. And, people move here, but then also the people that grew up here to still be around too. It's nice to see.
Yeah, we love that.
Yeah. And earlier you kind of, in terms of affordability, affordable neighborhoods, you kind of mentioned Hawaiian Paradise Park. And I remember years ago, I mean, they used to sell, I mean, it was just a lot of vacant lots at one point, right?
Right,
That they were
right.
just selling acres
Yeah.
of, of vacant lots. So
Yes.
now is it like a more of it's a community now?
It is. It's a community. It's on water catchment. And so if people don't know what that is, it's like you have a tank right in your yard of water, and it's not, county or municipal water in certain areas on the Big Island. It used to be, I don't know, $20,000 for a lot. And now they're getting up there, 80,000, 100,000 in that area, and in that area you can get a brand new home for like 500,000, right? It's on an acre, it's brand new, it's pretty much customized, and people see that price point and you're close to Hilo and are trying to purchase over there. So that's the difference between that side of the island and
Mhm.
compared to Kona, right? North Kona, where a median home price is 1.3 million. So when people look at the Big Island, it's hard to decipher like which town and what the housing prices are, right? They see a
Yeah.
$20,000 acre for sale, but they don't know it's on Kilauea volcano, and you're not going to be able to get insurance, financing. You're on an active volcano. So I try to explain to people, the different districts and how the price points vary drastically compared to the rest of the state. The Big Island
Yeah.
has a
Yeah.
place for everyone, right? But every little town is different of what it offers and what is the price point for real estate and what amenities it has in that little town or all the different towns on the island.
You just talked about the lava zones. So,
Mhm.
when it's lava zone 1 and 2 and you could buy it for extremely cheap. So you would have to educate them. Hawaiian Paradise Park, I think it's lava zone 3 or 4. So it's still a risk, but
Yeah.
for that price point, people are willing to just go for it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think we have not 9 lava zones on the island, and as long as you're in, I would say lava zone 3. Some lenders and insurance companies will lend in lava zone 2. One, they try to stay away from. And yeah, so at least lava zone 3, 3 to 9 is great. You'll still be able to find lending and a home insurance also. And that's another thing we're dealing with, not just with the condo insurance, but I think single family homes. Um, for example, I have a home that's an escrow, single wall construction, and finding an insurance company that'll insure for single wall construction. And I think the roofs, right, they have to be a certain like how many years. I think they're looking at that as well with homeowners insurance. That's also
Yeah,
being
the same totally applies for us here. We're it's becoming more and more of a challenge for homeowners insurance, even for single family, especially when it's single wall.
yeah. And so
Yeah,
I'm
for
trying
sure.
to, yeah, trying to see or who insures, right from the beginning of escrow, because before that's something that's like one of the last items to do in an escrow is to get the homeowner's insurance. But I think I'm starting to get that at the beginning, just to start to get quotes to see one who's able to insure in that area, and then what is that going to look like, right, for a homeowner to pay monthly, right? Sometimes it's some areas, it depends. It could be more or just as much as the mortgage. So you really want to depends on what lava zone and again, what area, right? They want to purchase in to get the insurance quote right from the beginning of an escrow or even before the escrow instead of waiting to the last minute.
Yeah, because it can be a huge cost for a home buyer for sure, rolled
Yeah.
into the housing cost, right? So
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you, are you seeing more interest in like off the grid living? Because when you're talking about water catchment system, I was thinking about that. Like, are you seeing more people that are interested in sustainable living, or because of the turbulent global, like our world, things happening, that
Yeah.
are people kind of, are you seeing more interest in that sort of lifestyle where people are kind of just sustainable living and kind of doing their own thing?
Absolutely. I see more people, building all of these gardens, planting more trees. They're looking for more of a rural lifestyle, more acreage. They're coming from cities like Los Angeles or San Francisco, and definitely they're looking for that, quiet, more laid back lifestyle where they're able to live off grid. And whether it's, I'm seeing, especially since COVID, it's interesting when you start to look at different properties around the island and how many people actually have gardens or raised garden beds. It's fascinating to see all the things you're able to grow in these different districts. But where before you didn't see too many homes that had something simple like a garden right in the yard. But I'm seeing that more and more, and livestock on different islands, and it's in different areas now. So they're either raising animals and have gardens, or before it was just all this acreage, right, with a home on it. I think people are starting to be more innovative, especially since COVID, and trying to, and the inflation of food, right? How much food costs here. They're trying to grow their own fruits and vegetables, and if they're able to, their own livestock as well. I'm seeing a lot more of.
Wow. Lailan, so you talked about the Big Island market update, short-term vacation rentals, affordable housing, lava zone lands, construction costs, global tariffs. I mean, you name it, you are the expert for the Big Island of Hawaii. So, is there any last words that you would like to share with our viewers?
I think that the Big Island still has, something to offer for everyone. It is still the most affordable island, whether you're looking for an investment, if you're looking for an off-grid, you know, um, property where you just want to be, have all this acreage, looking at the ocean and have no neighbors around. I think the Big Island has a place for everyone still. And that's what I think makes it special, compared to the other islands, is everyone can find a spot here, right, to purchase and live.
Right on. Well, thank you so much for your time. I know that you're really busy, so thank you for making the time for ThinkTech Hawaii. We really, really appreciate you, Lailan.
Yeah, thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
And aloha and mahalo.
Mahalo.